Here's a short video on how to feed Jackson. You can find the bin of Jackson's dry dog food along with the pill pockets and his medication inside the bin, just inside the door in the pantry. If you need to refill the white bin, you can do it from this black Rubbermaid bin that is also in the pantry on the floor, as you can see, on the same side as the little white bin. With each meal, Jackson also gets a gabapentin capsule, which is a kind of pain medication. It sort of makes his arthritis a little bit easier to manage. So we give him the capsule in a little pill pocket because he won't swallow it otherwise. So you take a little pill pocket out and you put the capsule into the middle of it, and then using your fingers kind of squish the soft little pill pocket up around to cover the capsule so that it's not obvious to him, because he's amazing at how he can separate his medication from his treats, and he will do that if he can do it. One thing I would recommend is, if you're going to give Jackson anything directly into his mouth, it's a better idea to put it on the palm of your hand and let him sort of lick it up, because it gets kind of slimy on your hand. But the alternative is to risk getting a little nip from his teeth, because he's not very accurate at making sure he just gets the food and not your fingers. So, as I say, recommended to use the palm of your hand. Put it on the palm of your hand and you should have no problem. Jackson gets 2 of these scoops of dry dog food in his bowl twice a day. Usually we feed him first thing in the morning whenever we all get up, or whenever Jackson gets up, whatever comes first. And we give him another one sometime after 5 o'clock in the evening. He often gets a little bit antsy as it's coming up to 5 o'clock. It's amazing how he knows exactly what time it is. And he might be, kind of encouraging you to feed him early, but we tend to try and hold off on that. Occasionally, if we're out and we don't get back and in time, he's eaten as late as 10 at night, and with no obvious ill effects. Along with the dry dog food, we mix some of this wet dog food. This is the salmon variety. You can find this in the refrigerator, and with the little white cap on it that you can see in the picture. We mix about a tablespoon of this along with 2 scoops of the dry dog food and about half a cup, a little bit more or less, whatever works, into his dry dog food in his bowl. We usually do this on the counter. If you try and do it on the floor, you'll never get it done before he's eaten everything. Mix it up so that you get a bit of a gravy with the water and the wet dog food, and with the dry, because otherwise he ends up, coughing up the really dry stuff because he can't handle it any longer, being an old dog. If you run out of the wet dog food, there are some other varieties. I think there's some salmon up there too, but you'll find this up in the cupboard that is to the right of the refrigerator if you need to open a new can. In between meals, not more than twice a day, you can give Jackson a treat from there's a little bin that's usually behind the white food bin that has various kinds of treats for him. Don't give him more than about 2 or 3, but it is the surefire way to make friends with Jackson, is to give him some treats. And he's been kind of starved for them lately, so he should be really happy with you if you do this. So here's hoping you have happy feeding with Jackson. So just on another note, this picture shows him at the Fern Road property in the area where the fire pit is. And the reason I include this picture is because right on those stones on the left side of the picture, there obviously been some drippings from a previous barbecue. And so Jackson was all over that place licking it up. And of course, then he ends up licking up a bunch of stuff that's not good for him. And he actually vomited up some gravel, I think, that the day I took this picture. So if you can keep, you can't always keep an eye on him, but if you can keep an eye on him when he's around, to try and make sure he's not eating anything strange. His smeller doesn't work so well anymore, and he doesn't always distinguish between what's good for him and what's not.